Hello, this is a presentation on Joint Application Development, otherwise known as JAD for short, by Preston Hahn, myself, and Chris Hemming. First off, I'd like to go over a little bit of a summary of what JAD is. JAD basically is a structured general discussion, so one would have to come who's facilitating it with information that the whole group of stakeholders, and within this general discussion you'll go over different steps, actions, the roles of the participants, problems, and the available solutions. Like I said, there will be a large number of stakeholders. This can be also used in conjunction with Agile, which is if you didn't know what that is, that is a type of collaboration. So many different groups can work together with Agile and come together, and Agile will work with JAD. All parties will be represented. This is why there are a large number of stakeholders, because every single different group will have to be represented, and because of this, there will be a large number of stakeholders from each of these different groups. So it could be a big meeting with many people. The decisions will be made quickly. The focus is on the business, not on individual needs or desires, but on the business's needs and desires, so more bigger picture. It was developed by IBM in 1977, so it isn't a new thing that people have been doing. So in these next several slides, I will go over the how-to in JAD. So one meeting wouldn't be like another, because JAD involves so many things, and JAD can actually involve many different other elicitation techniques. It could involve interviews, observations, anything. So first, you'll want to identify the stakeholders and executive goal. This will be preliminary to starting the meeting. You'll want to know who the stakeholders are to even invite them to the meeting, and you'll want to know the executive goal before you even start the meeting. This will help give you an idea of what you want to do during the meeting, and you want to understand the requirements from the user's perspective. So this could involve doing interviews, could involve apprenticing, and just getting to know what the users need and their perspectives. And then you would combine each user's view of the product with the executive goal into a summary, and then define the interaction of the product with users, other product systems, and the organization. Next, you would make a preliminary business plan and define the ways in which the users will interact or use the new product, collect samples of desired inputs and outputs from users, stick to business processes first, then drill down for data needed and known, and prioritize the use cases by collective user preference and risk. You then validate and review the use case scenarios, organize those use case scenarios, constraint, assumptions, and other requirements into your SRS. And then you would design the screen and report layouts, prototypes you could use for this step. So that's just 10 steps. These are just a how-to of how you could do JAD. You don't have to do it this way. As I said, there are many different ways you can do it. is open to pretty much anything with elicitation techniques and different things that you can do. And here's another example that I found. And there's a lot of information here. As you can see, we have in the top left, you have all the participants that would be involved in the actual JAD meeting. And you see there's the workshop there to the top left as well. And you see there's brainstorming that you can do, which would be helpful to get ideas fast.
Okay, let's talk about some of the benefits and pros of JAD elicitation. First off, the programmer is not limited to just one method of elicitation. This means that any of the elicitation methods can be implemented here. Observation, task analysis, anything that you would use in anything else can be used for JAD. One-on-one interviews are a good way to do it, to start it off, and then you can also insert your own questions as they're speaking. The programmer can look at existing documents and match them with a new system. So you are not limited to just what is new and what is old. It's very easy for the programmer to get his own ideas all out as well. It promotes teamwork with the stakeholders and users. Everybody is involved. There's not one person who is supposed to be controlling the whole conversation. Everyone has a turn, and everybody has a chance to express their own ideas. And it helps to build as a group unit something much larger within the project. It enhances design quality, makes the design process faster. Well, as everybody is communicating and giving their own ideas, they're able to do that very, very quickly. And the process doesn't take a large amount of time. JAD also helps programmers design from what the stakeholder perspective is. As you're sitting in that group, you're talking directly with the stakeholders, and the stakeholders can give their own ideas of what they want to see. And it reduces costs on having to look for documentation to help in the design process. Some downsides to it, some disadvantages. It requires that all members be experts in the project. This is very true. If you have to explain it to the whole group twice, it'll get very confusing for multiple members if they do not already know how the system is going to be designed, or how it's already designed. You will have a lot of people talking over each other, trying to figure out what the idea of the new project will be, instead of already having all of that information there present. All members are from different departments, and views can vary. You're supposed to take people from every department within the business or the project group, and employ them into the group, the elicitation group. And if you have somebody who's from, say, a more blue-collar side of the department and white-collar, they're going to have very different views on how the design should work. Blue collars will think of more of how they can make their job easier, and the white collar group will just try to make it so that it makes their job easier. anyone can give input, even those with no experience. Like I was saying, the other departments or different people who are within the group can freely speak as they want. They can employ any kind of technique or anything else that they need to get their idea out. The problem is with this is if you have somebody who is completely inexperienced in the department that we're trying to fix or trying to implement this new product, programmers will have no idea how that will affect the person, the person in like the blue collar area, the blue collar departments, because they are not the ones programming or thinking about the program other than what it applies to their job. And it's very easy to start an argument. One person will think one way and another person will put their input in, and it will just turn into a giant argument of how this program is supposed to be implemented or how they want it designed to fit their own needs.
As a recommendation, JAD is ideal for many groups of different departments. Like was said in the beginning, JAD is for a lot of people, for many different groups, and stakeholders are taken from those groups in order to be represented as a whole, to make sure that everybody's viewpoint is voiced in the meeting. This is recommended for new systems as well as enhancing existing systems.
We did our own experiment or our own session with a group of people, and we took data on how a real JAD elicitation session would work. And what we found was that we got a lot of great ideas because everybody was open, free to speak, give their own opinions, and we could sit back and listen to these great opinions. It was very positive. Everybody appreciated everybody's input and gave respect to the other person's ideas, even though not all of them will be implemented in this next project. It was hard to speak over people. One person would want to speak, and then another person would try to jump in over them, trying to get their own idea out. So it was a lot harder for one person to try to control the conversation because everybody wanted to give their own idea. And this is the big one. Every single stakeholder needs to be an expert. The reason why is because of what I said earlier. In our own experience with this JAD session, it was hard to explain what the program will look like over and over and over again. And everybody had questions. Even when I explained it the first time, somebody else would come out and want to have it explained again because they didn't understand it very well. Well, this bogged down the session incredibly. It slowed us down to the point where it took several minutes to get everybody on board as to what was going on. And some people couldn't comprehend certain aspects of the program, so it was hard to get them, up to speed. There was a hard time explaining ideas and current programs, and that's because everybody wanted to take their own input and shove it into somebody else's idea. So when somebody would explain an idea, somebody else would want to give their idea at the same time, or try to fix, quote unquote, fix the idea that somebody else had already presented or was presenting at the time. And it was hard to get explain the current programs because everybody had a different idea or a different way of looking at what the program will be. So it was really hard, and that kind of goes in line with every single stakeholder being an expert. Here are some of our works cited pages.